Good morning everyone. My name's Alan from Globe Tracker Travels and welcome. Just wanted to speak a little bit today about the ongoing coronavirus lockdown and the way it's affected myself and one or two friends. For those of you that saw an earlier video, you'll know that I was in Morocco with friends when the pandemic really started to take a grip in Europe, and borders were being closed literally on a daily basis and restrictions imposed. And Nikki, my friend that was with me who lives in Italy, they were one of the first countries obviously to close borders. They closed all the flights in and out of the country as well as ferries, so her return flight was cancelled, which caused a problem in as much as she couldn't get back home and needed to. And rapidly running out of options, we decided to leave Morocco, get back into Europe where we hoped we'd have more options, which we did. We managed to get, fortunately, and being very lucky, on the last ferry leaving Morocco into Spain. And then once we were in Spain, things didn't really change. There were still the restrictions on flights and ferries, so we didn't have much of an option other than to drive all the way across Europe to the Swiss-Italian border, from where Nikki managed to walk across the border into Italy and then get a train back down to Lazio where she lives. And then of course it meant that I had to travel back across Europe. Now at the time there were lots of restrictions in various countries, and it meant that it would be virtually impossible for me to turn around and go all the way back down, say, to Spain. And even if I'd have got there, there would have been problems actually staying there, etc. So I made my way back to the UK, which is where I am now. Now I suppose I'm a lot luckier than many full-timers in as much as I have a place, some people I know on a farm, where they do allow campers and caravans to stay, albeit that they've stopped doing that other than people they know. But I've got all the facilities and it's somewhere where I can stay safe and secluded and without any hassle, which is not the same that can be said for friends. I've got friends in the UK that have been physically threatened, have had threats against their camper vans and all sorts of stuff, and moved on by various authorities and councils, which is crazy, because at the end of the day in the UK we can actually live wherever we want, be it in a camper van, a motorhome, a boat or anything else. And under normal circumstances we're left alone. But in the current climate, current crisis, those things seem to have gone by the wayside. I can remember often going to places around the UK, you'd stop and go for a hike or something like that, and people would then come up to you and ask you about your camper and where have you been, and they were all excited, maybe a little jealous that you were able to travel as you did, but they were friendly enough people. Now it seems that you pull up somewhere and we're public enemy number one almost. And as I said, I've had friends of mine that have been moved on not just once but 2-3 times, and are still having to sort of try to find places on a daily basis in which they can stay safely. So it's hard times at the moment. So that's the situation. Last week the government here announced measures that would slightly ease the lockdown. Before we were only allowed to go out once a day for exercise, or to go out for essential supplies, i.e. shopping, or we could go to a doctor or hospital if we needed to, or we could go to a pharmacy to collect prescriptions. Other than that, we were being told to stay indoors. Again, coming back to the life we lead, the life we choose to live on the road, that's okay to stay at home if you're in bricks and mortar, but it's far more difficult when you're living in a camper, because you need to get water on a regular basis, you need places where you can empty your grey and black waste. And not only that, although we've chosen this lifestyle, we do live in a very small space, and to sit in that small space day after day after day with very little to do can be somewhat claustrophobic, and therefore it can leave its mark, let's say. So again, it comes back to what I was saying earlier. I'm lucky in where I am. In fact, I'm really lucky in as much as the farm backs onto some woodlands and forest area, So when I go out for my daily walk, I'm literally a couple of 100 metres and I'm in woodland, and I can go for a really good walk. And very rarely come into contact with other people. So, but as I say, last week the government eased that, and now we can go out as much as we want to exercise. We can actually travel as well, albeit just within England. Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland have got their own restrictions at the moment, but we can travel, providing, again, we're only going to meet up with or go with family, or meet up with one other person outside. So it's still not easy, but it's a little bit better, and hopefully it will get a little bit better as we move forward. I've also got some friends that are stuck down in Morocco still. They can't leave because there's no ferries leaving, and you know, if they did leave and they can't get their vans out, where do they live? They are full-timers, so you know, you can't just leave your home. It's all very well for people to say, oh, you know, go back home and, you know, we'll put on flights and things like that. But, you know, if you're in a situation like we are, where we live in our vans, it's not an easy decision just to park up your van somewhere in a foreign country, take a flight home or get home, never knowing when you might be able to go back to collect the van. And even then, if you get back to your home country, where do you live? You know, you've got to go back to either friends or family or rent somewhere, and that's not always possible. Certainly not in my situation, being on my own. I don't have family, and I certainly couldn't afford to rent a property in the normal course of events. I've got people that are now still in Spain, and that's a bit of a mixed picture, in as much as I've got one or two that are there and they've been allowed to stay on campsites where the campsites have actually closed with regards to normal operation, so you can't go in there just to spend a weekend or whatever. That's all closed. But those people that were in the campsites when the lockdown came, and they were full-timers, they've been allowed to stay. So there are very few. I mean, I'm thinking of one couple, they're on a campsite, there's only 3 other people, I think, and another where there's only 2, but at least they've got somewhere that's safe and they've got water, etc. Equally, I've got other friends that are actually staying, let's say, a wild camping still in Spain, but have had no problems. They're quite close to the beach. They can walk into the nearest village, which is not too far away, for a walk, and they once a week have a drive into the likes of Lidl or Mercadona supermarkets to get their shopping, and they haven't had any problems at all. So it seems to be that there are, you know, a few conflicting sort of rules and regulations, let's say, or what is accepted in certain areas rather than others. There's not much we can do about it rather than sit it out. Certainly this morning I was looking online, and the British government are to impose quarantine restrictions on people coming into the country, and that means even Brits that leave the country to go outside, if they come back into the UK, they've got to spend 14 days in quarantine. The exception being, you know, for example, truck drivers that are bringing food in and things like that, and also workers that are coming in to join the National Health Service, or to come in and fruit pick and that type of thing. But normally you can't just go out of the country, let's say, for, you know, a couple of days, a week's holiday, because if you did, when you come back, you'd have to quarantine. And those rules are coming in next month, and they're going to be reviewed over a 3-week period. But even so, although France has now eased their restrictions a little bit, you would still need to get a document from the French authorities for you to be able to travel through France. And as most of the campsites and everything else is closed, that's a no-go area. And also with the restrictions, as they're said in Spain, it would be difficult. So for the foreseeable future, and by that, I don't know, in my own mind, I think it's going to be September at the earliest before we could even consider maybe getting back onto the road and enjoying van life as we know it. So anyway, I hope everyone stays safe, keeps positive, and look forward to getting back on the road as soon as we can. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next video. If you enjoyed this or you liked it, please give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Always helps. Thanks a lot. See you next time.